Hey, everybody, welcome back for another episode of The Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by CCG Poker. I'm here with my co-host, Brando. What up, Brando?
What up?
Hey, we just had the WSOP Circuit event at the Hammond Horseshoe Casino in beautiful Hammond, downtown Hammond. Is there a downtown Hammond?
Oh, there is a downtown Hammond. That's not it.
No, that's like by the lake. I'm always surprised that it's like right on the lake.
It is on the lake.
Like when I go the bathroom upstairs outside the venue on the outside by the windows there and the escalator on the window side, I'm always like, oh, the lake. It's right there.
Yeah, like if you were to go, like you know how if you're leaving the Horseshoe, you would take a right out of the parking garage and like go over the ramp and like
how you normally go home.
Back on your way.
Yep.
If you were to take a left, there's literally the beach right there. Like
there's a beach in Hammond?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of beaches in Hammond. Of course.
I didn't know that.
Like you could just park your car and just be on the beach if you just turn left.
Just chilling like a villain. Nice.
Downtown Hammond was nice in like the
20s?
I don't know, 40s maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit after Gary was nice in the 20s after the steel and stuff.
Yeah.
Then Hammond built up after that. So yeah, I would say like the 40s.
All right.
But I don't really know my Hammond history too much.
Yeah, I don't know any, so I do not know if that was correct or not. A short Google search. I'm sure it's fine. So the WSOP Circuit event was what, a couple weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago now, yep.
2 weeks ago. So we wanted to do a little recap of the Overlay's personal experiences at the Horseshoe Hammond Casino. I only played one event. It's the Pot Limit Omaha event. It's the only event I play each and every year. I have not played anything else at Hammond. I don't think I've ever played anything else there except the PLO tournament.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, as soon as I'm saying that, I'm kind of going, maybe I should have tried something at some point. But you have always been an event one contestant. Is that what it's called?
That is what it's called, but that is an inaccurate statement.
It is an inaccurate statement?
Correct. This was my first time ever playing Event 1.
Oh, well, let's talk about Event 1. Event 1 is typically kind of the start. I mean, it's Event 1, so obviously it's the start, Ken. But it is the like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's always multiple flights. I didn't know there were multiple flights per day. Is that correct?
There is, yeah. There's 2 flights, then 2 flights.
And it's typically, bar none, the largest of the events, correct?
Correct.
There's always a pretty fat guarantee on it. What was the guarantee for the 2024 WSOP Circuit event?
I want to say 500,000 or 300,000.
And what's the buy-in on that one?
400.
Okay, so it's a pretty inexpensive tournament. Ergo, I mean, as far as the WSOP is concerned, we know as CCG players, 400 is like the top end of the wheelhouse. But for a circuit event, 400 is kind of the baby tournaments. It's their version of like a $20 early bird. Just lots of butts and seats, build a massive prize pool. It is a bit of a crapshoot, correct? That's like the negatives of event number 1. There's a lot of landmines. Is there a limit to the number of re-entries that you can have?
I think there's unlimited re-entry.
So it's unlimited re-entries, and they're typically pretty long registration periods, right? Like it goes through like the first 2 breaks.
It goes all the way to like dinner break. It's like level 12 or 16. It's deep.
Wow.
I mean, I think it's 3 breaks. I think it's level 12, 3 breaks.
Any idea what the starting stack was?
25K.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought it would be more, but that's the kind of new age. And again, when you go to the WSOP,
it's fast, man. I mean, it's fast.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because you played, $500,000 guaranteed prize pool. It looks like there were 2 flights Thursday, 11 and 4, 11 and 4 on Friday, 11 and 4 on Saturday, 10 and just 2.
There should just be 1 big flight on that Saturday.
Yeah, let me back that up. 2, A, B, C, and D is on Friday. Saturday is an 11 a.m. start, and that's the only spot on Saturday because that's where you made your mistake, correct? That's the last flight. So they have 5 flights, which is pretty good.
I made my mistake in the monster stack later on.
Okay.
But that's okay. We'll get there.
Starting stacks. pretty good. Players start with 20,000 in tournament chips.
So even less.
Yep, pretty less. Unlimited reentry permitted through the regulation period at the end of the registration period, end of day 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. Players will be given the option to forfeit their current stack and re-enter. So there's no double bag bonus or anything like that.
No.
And it looks like unlimited reentry. Where does it say that it's the end of registration?
It would say it on the structure sheet.
I'm looking at the structure sheet, and as I am a pretty competent poker player, at least in the structure sheet side, maybe not.
Are you?
Maybe not the playing side. Unlimited. Yeah, just registration will be open to the beginning of level 9. So it's 9 levels. There we go. It was banging way down at the bottom. Seems like that's a higher bullet point for most of us. But yeah, I mean, I think people playing that one for the idea of it's a $400 buy-in and the prize pool is pretty massive. I think this year was a little lower than what we had thought it was when you and I were just talking about event number 1 in general. I thought you said typically you thought it was like in the 100K realm, like it was like that would be like first place.
It was 73K. It was a little lower. 1,660 entrants. They barely beat the guarantee. Sometimes they like double the guarantee.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, I think typically it gets more than to like 2,000 to 2,500.
Okay.
And this year was 1,660.
I mean, let's not poo-poo a fact that it's a $400 tournament. First place is like 75K, which is like a pretty solid dream Porsche, like a mid-90s turbo you could get for about 75K. Yeah. A few extra miles on it, maybe a couple of dings. It's not cherry, but it's good. It's close.
So I back to me really quick. I just fired one bullet in there on Thursday because I had to meet somebody there that owed me money. So
nice.
I was like,
always a great reason to go play poker is that somebody owes you money.
Yep. So
was it
at
least
there, collected?
Was it at least 400?
It was more.
That's like that's even better. You went to the casino, collected money, played in a tournament, and still left with money. That is a successful day of poker.
Agreed.
How late did you get there? Because you played the 4 o'clock flight or the 11 o'clock flight?
I played the 4 o'clock flight. I think I got there at like 6 and was out by before dinner. Or out before
so they are 30-minute
closed.
levels. They are deep levels. I mean, but they do start 100, 200. So a little bit faster. You missed that 1-1 level. So at 6 o'clock, you're talking about what, like level 4? You're already at 300, 500 is what you're at.
Right, with a 500 big blind ante. So
it gets up there.
40 bigs. You're already on the move,
Yeah.
I mean, you're fine, but in an hour, you're not fine.
Yeah, 1 hour from there, I mean, you're at 800, 4.8. But really, at level 7, you're at 5-1. And at the end of registration, did I say it was the start of level 9 or end of level 9?
Should be beginning of level 9, yeah.
Yeah, so beginning of level 9 is 1,000, 1,500. So at that point, you're pretty small stacked. I do want to talk about the benefits and disadvantages. Obviously, there are plenty of disadvantages, but the late entry, especially if you're firing bullet number 2, is there a time frame in which you, as a player, and I'm just asking you personally, as a more knowledgeable no limit hold'em player than I will ever be, is there a point at which, like, if the blinds are, like in level 7, let's say you manage to like scrape by your stack, you're doing okay, you take a beat, and it's level 7, which means you still got an hour or so before the end of registration, and blinds are 500, 1,000, you start with 20K, so you got 20 big blinds. Is it still worth playing at that point? Full well knowing you're going in, it's going to be like a jam fest. Like, you're going to get like maybe 1 or 2 hands, that's it.
So I think a lot goes in, it's like more of like a formula. Whereas like if I was sitting at home in my underwear playing online poker, I would never reg at that point.
Okay.
I would play something else.
Just wait until
but,
tomorrow.
The fact that like the circuit comes twice a year, as long as your bankroll's fine, you're already there. It's one of those things that's like all those other factors make it like, okay, I feel like.
Kind of tip it over.
You're just kind of gambling and you're going to lose your 400 92% of the time. But like, you got to drive an hour home. You're not going to be able to play this tournament for 4 more months. It's like all those factors come into play. It's like just firing our
Yeah, it's only there a couple times a year. And again, we're talking about 2 Hammond stops. And then they do the Grand Vic twice as well?
Yeah, two grand, but that's 2.5 hours from my house. So like,
Yeah, well, for me in the suburbs of Chicago, they're both like an hour and change away from me. So to me, actually, Elgin's a little bit closer. It's just under an hour. Horseshoe from my place in Aurora is like an hour and like 15 minutes, and I got to pay for the Skyway, which I definitely have to create or have to factor into my
for sure,
my
it's like
budget.
$5.80 an hour, $6.50.
Oh yeah, it's two ways. It's nuts. So your thought process
So I would
is
say in general, yes, but in these spots again, 75K to first, you're already there. It's a $400, not a $4,000 buy-in. I mean, we should all have the bankrolls.
Yeah. Do you go into the tournament? Because it's a mistake that I made in PLO, and we'll talk about that when we get to the PLO side of things. Do you factor in that you're just going into that event number one, just willing to fire two bullets? Like your budget for that tournament is two bullets. Like I'm going to play two bullets. If I get knocked out before the 9th round or the 8th, before the registration period's over, I'm going to just fire a second bullet. I don't care what time it is. If it's at break and I'm just doing it right before, and I'm coming into level 9, which is now 1,000, 1,500, which means I can't even do math fast enough. You're at like 15 big blinds, right?
Something like that. Yeah. All right.
It's even worse. Is that something that poker players should have like in their mindset when they're going to play? And again, obviously, take the fact that it's like you're already there, you've already got parking, you're an hour from home or whatever the case may be, and it's like I'm here, I might as well play, I can still get in. It's 75K to first. I know I'm going to have to jam it and pick like a hand and hope I do well and maybe get a good seat draw on the blind so I can get a couple of free hands beforehand. Is that something players should think about?
I believe so, yeah.
Like a budget?
I mean, yeah. I went into it going to say I was firing two bullets in it, and then I fired one bullet in, and then changed my mind and said, screw it, I'm going home. But yes, I went into it thinking I was going to fire two bullets.
You were also planning on going back on Friday, but you do live a heck of a lot closer than I do. I mean, what's the Horseshoe for you, like 20-something minutes?
Yeah. Now that the Klein Avenue Bridge is open and I can just zoom over from that, I mean, that was closed for years. And now that that's open, I mean, once I get, it's like 20-something minutes.
So that also, I mean, like for me, I'm not coming back tomorrow just to get better blind levels because it's a 2.5-hour trip for me, round trip. So I might as well screw it. I'm just going to stay and play the shittier version of the tournament and then go home and then not come back the next day. So tell us, how did you do? You started at what, like level 4 or 5, somewhere in there?
Yeah, I think level 3. I think I started. Like I said, I never got anything going. I don't even remember how I got it in. I lost my first album.
Yeah, no, that's the epitome of the poker podcast that we're on. I don't know what I had. You sound like one of my stories. No, wait, I called, and then a guy from the hijack, under the gun, and then he bet, and you always make fun of me for those because I can never remember. I did play a lot
of poker that week, so I don't really remember.
So event number 1 was just a blur for you. Nothing good happened. Never got any chip stacks going. You didn't have like kings and got busted by like a 9-10. Nothing cool.
No, nothing cool.
Did you fire any more flights, or you just played the 2 bullets or the 1 bullet in Thursday, or did you come back Friday?
I had to work Friday, so
that's true. I forgot about that.
No Friday for me. It's basically Thursday or nothing for those event 1s.
Yeah.
I don't typically play.
And then they typically do day 2 on Sunday, and then
which is the same time as the PLO. Not the same time, but if you're stuck in the day 2 of that, then you don't get to play the PLO, and then it's like yeah.
Man, how late does the 4 o'clock go if you play 19 levels end of day 1?
I mean, we could do that math, but
20 levels would be 10 hours. I guess that's not that bad. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's
3
like
o'clock in the morning.
2:30. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which I guess is what the PLO tournament goes to as well. So that's not that bad. All right, so you played event number 1. Nothing exciting happened.
Nope.
You did fire 1 bullet or 2, you said?
One bullet.
Yep. Well, that's good. Did you not make the registration? Or you decided not to re-register?
I just was like, I was fed up and I'm done. I left.
That's I think that's a huge point that people don't always do, and I'm a big factor of it. I'm like, I don't really want to play. I'm here, though. I'm like, I should play, so I'm going to play, even though I'm regretful of playing, and that's like I go into it with this terrible mindset of like I'm...
And then you lose, and you're like,
why did I stay? Never once have I ever been able to tell a story like, I was really unhappy to play, but then I won the tournament, and then I was like, that was a great choice. That's never happened to me. I've never had the, I told you so, Ken, that was a good idea. Normally, my bad ideas that I think are bad ideas in the poker world typically turn out to just be bad ideas.
Yep. I'm with
Okay.
you there.
What else did you play after that?
So then we're going to fast forward to Monday. I skipped the PLO. You played the PLO.
Oh, yeah. Can I talk about PLO?
Go ahead.
Yeah, PLO was great. I, for once, got there. I even texted you, remember? I texted you. I was like, hey, I got here at 5:20 something. The tournament started at 5. I got there at like 5:20. It's half-hour levels again. Like, I literally sat down at the table, and there were like 40 seconds left of level 1, which I don't think in the history of me playing in any of those PLO tournaments I've ever made level 1, which I think is a bad stat to have. I think players should play early rounds, especially in PLO, because you can splash around a little bit more. You really get to see when the blinds are lower, like which players are betting their draws and which players are kind of like more timid. I feel like that's a great time in Pot Limit Omaha. It's probably true in No Limit as well, that when people have some chips in front of them, like they can do a little bit more. And I feel like those early levels, not to mention the fact that you get more bang for your buck, you can build a bigger chip stack, you can lose pots and not be detrimentally hurt. You also get a lot more information. At least I feel like I get a lot more information from people, because when you're like in the middle rounds of tournaments and you've only got like a pot size bet and then a flop, you pot it again, that's like half of a person's chips. Like, you're really not getting to see any play at that point. Like, it's either all in or fold, or you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to like see any moves that these people are making that you could maybe use at a later point.
Right. It's pretty basic. I mean, you're just betting your hands,
betting your hands, right?
And then you're just all in.
Yeah, it's like it's never very surprising in a PLO tournament when you're like halfway through, and it's just like, yep, that guy's got a set of kings and that guy's on a straight draw, flush draw. Like,
yep.
And the other guy's like, are my hearts good? Like, the only question at that point is, are both of my draws good? Or do you have kings with like king high flush draw and now I'm just down to the straight draw, right? Like, it feels like that's the only time that people are like guessing on who's got what, or none of them have a heart draw. It's like, and then you see the guy mumbling. He's like, I folded, I have the heart draw. And he wishes, or she wishes, that they had stayed in. And I played pretty good. I would like build up a stack. I think you start with 25K, or you definitely start with 25K in the PLO tournament. I'd like run it up to like 40. I think the highest I ever got to is like a little over 50. That tournament though, early on, I was just like, not card dead, the opposite of card dead. Like, I was getting good starting hands, but if I had, queen, jack 10, double suited, spades and hearts, like, it would be all low cards with like an 8 is the high card on the board, and then like, clubs and heart, or the opposite two. Like, I couldn't even like turn a draw where like, all right, well, maybe if it gets checked through, I can hit like a 9, get an open ender on my jack 10. Maybe my queens are good, but they're probably not. And it's like, even at that point, you can't do anything. So I felt like a lot of that happened where I would like raise pre-flop, totally whiff the flop. At that point, you really can't get quirky or try to do anything, or I do remember.
You're very confined in those tournaments.
Yeah, I do remember in that tournament though, or in that specific hand, I was under the gun. Here I go. I was under the gun. I raised a pot because it's a small. It's like blinds are 300, so the opener is like 1,000. So I make it 1,000. Get like 3 callers. It ends up getting checked the whole way to the river, and I'm like thinking to myself, "Don't bet here. You have not told any story." There's no card above like a 10 and no straight out there, no flush out there. And I was like, actually, Brandon would be proud of me. I am presenting the story that I had aces. Nobody has bet this entire hand. So I'm the first person to bet. I'm going to bet out. There's like 4,000 in the pot. I think I bet like 2,500, representing that I have aces. And I'm like, I might be good here. I also believe that the board paired like a deuce. So I'm like, I could even, now I've counterfeited the 2 pairs. Sure enough, it gets through. Some guy shows kings and mucks them. And I was like, I only have queens. But the story I was telling is that clearly I opened with aces under the gun. And I now think that they're good with 2 pair. And I beat anything but trip deuces. And if somebody raised, then I would have just folded. It would have been fine, and it is what it is. So I thought that was my best. That was my best play of the day. Was my pseudo bluff, and I was like, I actually am telling a story here, and it actually got through, which was great. Then Then I remember playing for most of the day, just, again, hovering between, like, starting stack and, like, 35K. Like, I would get up to, like, 40K, lose a hand, go back down to, like, 25, script down to, like, 20, build, get one big hand, get back up to, like, 35. I think I lasted 2 all-ins, which were sweet. I did hit a straight flush on one river, but it was like massive overkill. Obviously, my flush was good, and I had a good time playing. I remember jokingly saying to the dealer,
I had a good time playing.
I did. I had fun playing. I jokingly said to the dealer that, and I had a really good table. Like, I was in the same spot. I was in the 1 seat, which I like. I like the one of the 9 seat. I like sitting next to the dealer. 1's my second favorite spot. 9 is like my favorite spot because you can see the action coming to you. It's always a little hard in the 1 seat because you got to like look around the dealer. So you do have to be very aware, if you are a fan of sitting next to the dealer, is that. And the nice thing is most dealers do tell you exactly, like, they'll turn to you so they know, and it's always like, oh, is it on me? Yeah, that's why I'm pointing to you, because it's on you. It was good there for a while. I remember jokingly saying to the dealer, there's like 30 or 40 minutes left of registration. Somebody had asked how much longer is the registration period. And I said, I kind of feel like I'm up $1,200 because I had anticipated going in for 3 bullets here, and I'm still on my first buy-in. So, like, I'm up $1,200. And the dealer thought that was really funny, that my mindset was not that I was still in the tournament, but I was up $1,200 because I hadn't gone over my poker budget at that point. But as the poker gods have it, I opened with kings, double suited, basically like 3/4 of my stack. So there was 0% chance I was folding at this point because I was down to like, 5,000 in chips or whatever it was. And there was a call and then a pot size bet. I repopped it. Gets back around. I get one caller, which is Lucas. He's a normal player at CCG occasionally. He called my big bet, and flop is all little. I put out my little 6K into the pot before, but I mean, there was like 40K in the pot, so it wasn't like I was going anywhere. And turns out he only had, it was a queen high flop. He had ace, queen of hearts. There were 2 hearts out there. I had king something of hearts. So I'm like, ooh, that's a good flop for me. I got an overpair. I got the second nut flush draw. And then as it turned out, it wasn't a good heart draw. I had blockers at that point, not another draw. And the river, as the river does it did bang a heart out there. It was the most sad I've ever been to hit a king high flush in Pot Limit Omaha.
Yeah, it's sad. Second nut's no good.
So I busted, and then I did exactly what we talked about. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, I know I start with 25K in chips, which means I am basically just hanging on here. Blinds are going to come back at 1K, 1,500, and, I've got 15 big blinds. Is it worth another 600? Because the problem with PLO is, even if you final table, like, the payouts are so... In that one, they feel so top heavy that you can get 9th place and lose money in the tournament. Like, if you were in for 3 bullets in that tournament, final table, get to the top 9 on day 2, up on the stage, it's like 1,700. Like, you'll lose a little bit of money.
Correct.
So I always think that, like, maybe the factor should be 2 bullets should be the absolute most you're willing to go. And I know there's guys that are in for like 4, 5, 6 buy-ins, and I'm like, Jesus, guys, you're gonna have to get like 6th place to break even, which seems like a bad mindset to go into.
But you know my rule. You gotta treat them all like it's a brand new tournament.
Yeah, you always tell me that. I have a hard time doing that. In my mind, I'm like, it's the same tournament. I'm in for 2, so I'm in for 1,200. So I'm gonna lose money if I just min cash here. But you're right. You got to treat each buy-in as its own, and don't think of it as like starting yourself behind the 8 ball to go forward. Yeah, I got it in a 3-way pot with like 7, 8, 9, 10 double suited, which I felt good. There was, I think I was down like...
That is what you had. I remember you did.
Yeah, and I had like 15K left, and I ended up betting and getting 2 callers, and they both had big ones, and I flopped... What did I flop? I flopped 2 pair. I flopped 2 pair in like a gut shot, and hearts. My hearts were good, which was sweet. So I was like, I went from 3rd place to 1st place here. I was like, dealer, just stop. Like, don't put on any more cards. They both fold. Game over. Faded the turn. All I have to do is fade. In my mind, I was like, oh, all I have to do is fade a king or an ace, because they had aces and one guy had kings, but nothing else. No other draws. I was like, oh, this is money. I'm so good here. I'm going to quadruple up because with that at that point with the blinds in there and there was a couple of callers, I'm like, this is fantastic. I'm going to have like 60K. This is money. I can actually play poker now. And then the board paired not one of my two cards. I think whatever it was. It wasn't my 7 or 8, so I didn't boat up. So I get counterfeited. I now have 7s and 8s, kings versus 3s, and the other guy's got aces full of 3s, and aces full of 3s are good. He scoops a big pot, knocks 2 players out, and off I go back to the parking garage. But I felt good. I feel like I got it in both times. I feel like that's kind of what you have to do in poker. Like, if you get it in good, it is what it is. And, I wasn't sharing cards on that all in. It was a good spot to do it. I was going to quadruple up. I mean, like you told me the last time I got busted with aces, you were like, you win that hand 50% of the time, and the times you win, you triple up, and when you lose, you're just out. But like that's what you want. Alan Castler told me that's a dream position. That's a dream spot for aces. I was like, yeah, Alan, but I'm out. So how dreamy is it now? I was very upset at that point. That was last year.
Well, you play 6 of those a year, and he plays 600. So
true. You got to take the good with the bad.
You can lose all 6 of those spots. He knows he's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me I would have been that big of a favorite going into the river to quadruple up, kind of middle of the tournament, because at that point there were like 30 of us left, and I think like 20-something paid, or 18, whatever it was, 21 paid. There was like 30-something. So we were kind of getting close to the bubble. We're getting to the point where people are like really, really flying out of the tournament at this point because you can't hold on. I mean, starting stack is 1 bet and a call. Like, that's it. Like, you're not getting anything more than that. But that's the game, right? That's why the blinds go up, and that's why we play. You got to win some races or some huge advantage non-river cards.
You do.
Those happen. That was my PLO experience and my experience at the WSOP, which I promise when the WSOP comes to the Grand Vic in Elgin in November, I am going to play at least one no limit tournament. I'm saying it now officially. I'm going to try to play at least. I got to play something, right?
Right.
Just for the folks out there.
I'm going to go turbo mode with the rest of mine because we're already deep into this podcast.
Yep.
Monday, I say screw it. I played event 1. I've never played before. I'm going to go play the 08, the $400 Omaha 8 or better limit. Never played limit before. I said screw it. I'm going to go play that.
Omaha 8 or better or high-low. Yep.
So register for 400. Have a blast. The monster stack's going on. Flight A and B of the monster stack going on. But I'm like, I'll just come back on Tuesday and play the monster stack. Today I'm going to play the 08. It lasted about, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. It was fun. I had a blast. My table kind of sucked. There was a bunch of old guys that knew what they were doing. But I had fun. I ended up busting out and losing. Went home. See you Monday. So now, Monday night or Tuesday morning, I'm like, all right, I got to go play this monster stack. It's the best tournament of the week. It drew a pretty big turnout for the 2 day 1 flights. So I was just assuming that there was 2 day 1 flights at 11 and 4, that there would be 2 day 2 flights at 11 and 4 for 4 total flights.
Nope.
So I was at the Horseshoe kind of late. I played a little bit of cash on Monday after the 08, whatever. So I wake up at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. I'm like, all right, sweet. I got all the way until the 4 o'clock flight. Do all the rest of the shit I got to do for the day and, head to the Horseshoe around 3. Leave from my house at 3 and get there for the 4 o'clock flight. Well, on my way, I check the schedule and see that there isn't a 4 o'clock flight. There's only the 11 a.m. flight. So now the premier tournament that I wanted to play, I skipped it on Monday to play the 08. And now I'm showing up 4 hours late and decide this is stupid. I'm not going to play it. But there happens to be a $400 horse tournament.
Okay.
In the 4 o'clock time slot that I thought I was going for the last flight of the monster stack. So I decided, all right, I had so much fun playing the 08. I'll just play the horse. I'm in the horse. Never played 08, never played horse. This is just the series of playing everything I've never played before, is the way I was looking at it. Never played event 1, never played 08, never played horse. Usually I play the PLO and the monster stack. I'm going full reversal.
Yeah.
without, 25K in the horse, had a fun table, yada, yada. It's slow moving. I did get my 25 up to 50 and then really up to kind of 100.
Ooh.
Like I had 4 stacks. I don't want to say early, but if it started at 4 by 8 or 9 p.m., I was at 100, and, having fun and going through. And then there's one hand I want to highlight because it's just kind of a crazy hand. It was in stud, 2 down, 4 up, 1 down, traditional 7-card stud.
Yeah.
I had a 10 in the hole with a king in the hole and a 10 up. So a pair of 10s. I don't remember if I opened or what. I don't remember the action, but I'm in there seeing another card. I split 10s. I got a pair of 10s.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good hand to start with. And then my next card's a queen. And there's a round of betting, and I bet. And then my next card's a queen. So now my up cards are queen, queen, 10, and my down cards are king, 10. So I got 2 pair of queens and 10s. 2 pairs pretty good in stud, from what I know, especially queens up. And I'm playing against 2 players, and one guy is showing 7-7 deuce for a pair of 7s with a deuce up there.
Okay.
And then the other guy is showing king, jack, 6. So whatever. He's basically showing nothing. So I'm like, I don't know what this guy's got. I thought maybe he had a straight draw or a flush draw because you don't know his undercards.
Sure.
Okay, so rounding betting on 5th Street. Obviously, I'm showing queens. 6th Street shows up, a 3rd queen. So now I'm showing 10, queen, 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 and I have a 10 in the hole. So I have a full house on 6th Street. The other guy down yonder seems good. Seems great.
Right.
The other guy down yonder, pairs is 6. No, actually, they didn't pair 6. The other guy down yonder had a 3rd spade. The one with king, jack, 6. He had a 3rd spade. I'm like, ooh, maybe he's got a flush draw now.
Yeah, full house beats a flush.
Maybe he's got a flush. And then the other guy is showing 7-7 deuce deuce. So I'm like, even if he's got a boat, I got a bigger boat than him.
Right.
I'm like, I got everybody ruined here. Like, this is phenomenal. And I think the limits were it was either 2-5 or 3-5.
Sure.
2K, 5K. So I bet 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 more. They both call me on 6th Street. And I'm like,
ooh,
what is going on here? But I'm like, okay, cool.
Kind of happy about it because it seems like they're bad calls. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm thrilled about it. I'm like, you guys stink. Like, what is going on?
You guys suck.
And then the 7th card comes down in dirty, and I don't even look because I can't.
I'm not improving. Maybe
but
a 4th
key
10.
factor here is I did have a king in the hole, which ends up being a factor. I bet 5,000, and then the guy that is showing king, jack, 6 something with no pair and 3 spades ends up going all in for 8,000. Obviously, I bet 5,000 is 3,000 more.
You're not folding.
And then the guy with 7 deuce, 7-7 deuce deuce, he hums and hoes and calls the 8,000. And I'm like, I know I got that guy beat. Like, there's just nothing he can have.
Right.
Quads, I guess. So then I click it back to 13, and then he calls, and I show my queens full of 10s. The other guy with 7-7 deuce deuce showed a 7 for a full house. He said he had a 10 underneath as well, so he didn't believe me. He's like, well, you had to have a 10, and I had a 10, so I didn't think you had a full house. He just thought I was bluffing. By the end, he knew he was screwed, but he had to call 5,000 more to win. Literally a 100K pot.
Yeah, it's one of those times where you're just like, you have to punt those chips. You can't fold.
Right.
You have to get the information.
Then the other guy flips over his 3 down cards, and his 3 down cards are king, king, 6.
Oof.
And he has king 6 showing, and I have a king. So he has kings full and wins.
Ugh.
So it was boat over boat. It was boat over boat over boat.
That never happens.
I've never seen.
No.
I've never even seen a boat really ever. Nobody even shows boats in card stuff, let alone 3 boats. And the guy, I was like, well, did you at least have rolled up kings to start, king in the hole and a king up top?
Yeah, because that'll make you feel better.
Then he had trips off the rip at any pair. He's like, no, I had king 6.
Oof.
Got the king on the last draw. I'm like, oh, that's a nice little 1-outer. So I was a little bit tilted.
But hey, like our dear friend Maria Ho says, you
build chips.
you lose big pots or you accumulate chips so you can lose big pots and still be in the hand or still be in the tournament.
Yep.
So you were still in the tournament.
So that put me down to like 50. But now fast forward all the way. There was 100 entries. There was like 99 entries, top 18 paid. This happened with like 50 left. Fast forward to like 25 left. I'm literally on fumes, like down to 30K. I had spun it back up to like 150 and then down to 30. And starting stacks 25. The limits are high. We're nearing the bubble. I'm like, great. I just wasted 7 hours in this damn tournament. I got nothing for it. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, there's no hiding in these games. Like, you have to make hands. Like, There's no just like pick up the blinds.
No.
You know, you're especially when you're short. I mean, they're stealing the blinds when you have chips and you can just open anything because everybody's scared of you. But when you have no chips, it's not like you can just jam your 9 bigs on the button and hopefully everybody folds.
No.
You do that 4 times, you're all right. There's none of that. So it finally got to a hold'em level, and I ended up getting it in ace-7 versus king-queen and holding. And then I ended up raising with king-jack and getting a bunch of callers, and the queen 10-9 board came and I flopped it straight and got value on the flop, raised on the turn, done on the river, and the guy called. So now I'm kind of back. I just went from like 30 to 150, and average is around 150. So I got all the way back to average stack, and now I'm kind of fighting for the bubble. Then I won and then obviously after H is O, and that's Omaha 8. I quartered our buddy Matt, mixed game Matt with the backwards hat.
Nice.
That's winning our mixed game series. I quartered him in a big 08 hand where I flopped a boat and then counterfeited his low, and we ended up with the same low. And so now I'm kind of I'm cruising. And then if you fast forward again, I'm just trying to make this quick. We're kind of on the bubble now, 20 left. 20 left and 18 pay. Comes back to Hold'em. In the Hold'em orbit, I got aces, kings, and queens, and won with all 3 of them and knocked the guy out.
Oh, nice.
So now I'm a chip leader. It's crazy how in limit goes. You go on a run, you win chips. With the betting limits being so big and everybody being kind of so short, I'm at 350K.
Sure.
And now I'm okay, there's only 2 million in play or 2.2 million in play. So I got
feeling pretty good.
Feeling great. So then now the bubble pressure comes and I lose the pot and whatever. We end up making the money at 18. And I was still in the money. I had to be second in chips with 350K. But then as we progressed down, we played all the way a certain amount of levels. I forgot how many levels. We ended up with 9 of us left. At the literally last hand, the guy got eliminated to go from 10 to 9, bang, final table. I bagged 240K and was 3rd in chips.
Nice.
Going to the final table in a tournament I've never played before.
In Horse. Where you secretly told me that I'll tell everybody in the podcast now that you were yeah, I really only know how to play 2 of these 5 games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And really, I'm not even good at limit hold'em. I just know how to play.
I have at least an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, I would just get absolutely ruined in Raz every time. It's incredible how it really is super high variance because no matter how good your hand is, if the dealer throws you a king or a queen or a board pair on 4th or 5th or 6th street, the other guy's just instantly betting into you now. And there's so much information out there because so much of the hand is face up. There's no hiding. You can't hide the fact that board pair or that king is just a terrible card for you. And now they're just going to start betting in your face. And regardless, now you got to decide, okay, cool. They got a 9 there. Is that a good card for them? Or is that just a king, just a bad card for me? It really is kind of weird poker that you don't ever really think about in the no limit games.
Right.
All these situations were being proposed to me as kind of a first time for me. I'm oh, this is kind of tricky. Oh, this is kind of weird. Oh, this is kind of screwed up.
Right.
So I really didn't know what, and then obviously it's well, what do you do? It's I don't know what to do. This is the first time I've ever faced.
I don't have any idea. Right.
So fast forward to the final table. Nobody's got chips. One guy's got 900K of the 2.4 million. And then the rest of us were all just sitting down here in Candyland, like we don't
playing for second.
We all need a double up.
Hiding from the big shack, yeah.
But now, like you said in the PLO, the payouts are so thin.
Yeah.
You really got to win. Like min cash it was a $400 buy-in. Min cash was $650 for 18th. 9th place was like $1,100, and then 5th place is like $1,600.
Right.
So it's like from 18th min cashing to a top 5 finish is only $1,000 difference.
Yeah. And
it's a $400 buy-in. Now, obviously, it's $9,600 for first and $6,000 for second and fourth, $3,800 for third. So top 3 is where you want to go. But like, there's really no ICM.
No.
Because yes, I was.
There's no like laddering up here, like right, like
there's
it's
no laddering up. Like the ladders are like $200, $300. Like the chips mean more than the money. Whereas like there's times when like the money means more than the chips.
For sure.
So like I got ace. I basically bricked the final table. I won my first hand, and then blinds were so high. Basically, my all the wind coming out of my sail was deuce 5 of spades down, ace of spades up, which is a beautiful hand in stud high low.
Yeah.
So now I have an ace showing, which is just so fearful. I got 3 to a low, 3 to a straight flush. I ended up pounding 75% of my chips in the pot, and by 7th Street, I had no low and no pair. And I'm sitting there on 7th Street with literally the biggest pot of the tournament. There hasn't been a pot with more chips in the tournament ever. Literally the biggest pot of the tournament so far. And I'm sitting there on the river with freaking ace high and no low.
Oof.
And then the guy bet into me and I snap fold. And everyone's like, you fold? I'm like, I got ace high, guys.
I got nothing, guys. No, like, what do you want me to do?
I got 4 spades.
This is the one instance that I can actually fold here is the correct play. I cannot punt. I cannot win this hand.
Look, the guy's showing a pair of 6s on his board. I can't win.
I can't beat the 6s.
I can't beat the 6s. So then after that,
can't call here.
I kind of I ended up having 10-9 down and 10-9 up in stud high low and just going with it. I mean, it's 2 pair after 4 cards.
Yeah.
How bad could it be? But it turned out one guy had a low draw, one guy had a flush draw. The guy with the low missed, but the guy with the flush got there. So I was kind of battling for half the pot.
Right.
And then I just missed it all, got eighth for $1,100, and that was a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. I had a blast.
Absolutely.
But it's always fun the final table. And, there was some big names at the final table. Like the guy to my right, Richard B-A-I. I don't know if you say it. Richard By. He played a 25K horse this year at the
shit. Yeah.
So like
real players.
My bust out hand, I needed like a 10 or a 9. And he was like, oh, you know how to sweat like a 4-sided card? Like if you sweat the sides and it's 4-sided, it could be a 10 or a 9. I'm like, I don't know how to do that shit, man.
I don't know how to do that.
Fired over my jack of spades. I'm like, I'm out, dude.
That's hilarious.
But he's like, oh man, he's like, you know how to sweat 4 sides? I'm like, no, I got a jack. Good game.
Got a jack. I'm going home. And then what did so you end up getting what place exactly? 7th?
8th place. I was the second one out of the final table.
Nice. Yeah, that's not great.
And I mean, then it was like dominoes. It went 9 down to 5.
Yeah, everybody goes really fast at that point.
Because again, there's no ICM. Everybody's short. We're basically making a move to try and have chips against this guy with $1 million to play 3-handed with him,
Right.
So all of our chips got to get consolidated, to a couple million chip stacks. I mean, obviously that's the way tournaments work, but we were all just in there trying to fight and find a double.
Trying to find a double so that you can actually play a little bit and then figure out what to do from there, which, I mean, like you said, I guess that's every poker tournament, but still, it's always a little rough to,
especially after winning, I won my first, I skipped this part. I won my first hand and had like 400K. So I basically doubled my,
so you did get the double up that you wanted.
I did get the double if I wanted, and then I was kind of going for the next one. Like that next one, if I win that pot or make a low or even get half of it, or heaven forbid I scoop it, well, now I have 700,000. I'm getting top 5 for sure.
Maybe even top 4.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a stack I really have a third of the chips. So I have an average stack 3-handed. And now I can kind of sit back, let everybody else get eliminated. Even though the blinds are high, I'll lose some back. I'll play aggressive when I'm showing high cards, but kind of tiptoe out of everybody's way. So I kind of made it one hand to safety and then bricked the one hand.
Yeah, that happens.
So then I decided, let's go max late reg the stimulus. I was all in the first hand with pocket 9s against ace, king, and queens. And the flop came ace, ace, king. In a hold'em tournament. I made it one. I was one hand. It was literally 2 hands before dinner break. It was 25K starting stack, and the blinds were 2,000, 4,000.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm looking for a hand. I'm in the big blind, and I got 9s, and it goes like raise, re-raise, and I'm like, I got 9s with 8 bigs, and I want to have 100,000 if I'm gonna wait a dinner break, or I'm just gonna go home. So the guy could have showed me ace, king, and queens, and I'm like, I'm in there, dude.
Don't care. I'm still playing.
Yep. So I played one hand of the $400 stimulus to just punt back all my profit from the horse.
Sounds smart.
And then that was my WSOP. So bunch of weird games. Made my first WSOP circuit final table in horse.
Oh, that's pretty wild. I mean, that's awesome. I've never played a horse tournament. I would be nervous to play a horse tournament. What was the buy-in on the horse?
Really, really fun.
600?
400.
I don't want to sound what's the racist term for old people? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Was it like a lot of old guys? Is it like all old guys, or was there some like?
No, it was
younger players?
Very mixed. There was a lot of younger players and a lot of older guys, but like, as weird as this is going to sound, it was like cool older guys, like 50-year-olds and seemed like they own a company and married old guys, not like 70-year-old old timers with oxygen that passed away. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's kind of become a little bit of a not a younger, but it's not the old adage where it's like, when I think of 7-card stud tournaments, I think of like
a bunch of Doyle Brunsons.
I do. I think of literal old men in their 70s, grumpy with stupid hats. Maybe a green visor thrown in there just to make it more fun.
There was a couple guys with hats and visors. There was a few.
Why do they wear the green visor? Does it help, like, can you just, like, the light reflect through it and makes it brighter on your cards? Like, why do they wear?
I don't know.
Why is green visors, like, associated with it? It's always funny when I go to, like, casino nights that are run by people that don't know anything about gambling. Like the dealers are wearing these fucking green hats. You know what I'm talking about? Like the visor with like the green, like see-through.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Cellophane. Yes. Look. It's like
plasticky looking.
Yes. Yeah, like what? Yes. This is no.
Like a dealer on the strip would have worn in 1987.
Maybe not even then. Like late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, 87. That was out. Like I just like since 1984, this has not been a thing, and even then, it was like, ugh, are you really gonna wear that? It's always funny. So when I think of 7-card stud tournaments, and obviously horse would kind of fall into that, that's what I think of. But that's hilarious. Hey, congratulations though, and no joke. A final table is a final table. I don't care what it is, and especially if it's a tournament that you really, that's like not a game that you play.
Yeah,
it's got to feel
and
good.
I really did feel super lost in Raz. Everything else was okay, but I was just every time I would be texting with Ryan and be like, I just need to make it around to the Hold'em, the HO.
I just got to make it to the hoe part. I need my hoe back.
Because I would just lose in Raz and then stay stagnant in the S and the E and then get back to O and H or H and O. And of course, they draw for the game at the final table.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that every time they open the table,
do that.
Every time they open the table,
you don't just go back to hoe.
They draw for the button and they draw for the game.
No kidding.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
So at the final table, the 4th card was the highest card, so we started with stud.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I was like H, I was hoping the first 2 cards.
Yeah, hoping for anything but...
Well, I was like, stud, okay, I can make it to S and the E, and then get back to the Hold'em. I didn't even make it through the S and the E. 16 hands was too many hands
That
for
was
me to
it.
last.
That was all she wrote. Well, thank you as always for listening to the Bad Beat version of the Overlay, a poker podcast about Ken and Brandon's woeful. You actually had a pretty good turnout. I mean, you did cash in the horse tournament, which is pretty solid. I've bricked like the last 4 tournaments I've played in. Now, again, I only play like 2 a year, so for me, it's like a 2-year streak of not cashing, which feels really bad. So I'm going to have to up my game a little bit, and by doing so, I've already put it out there. I'm going to play Thursday, November 7th, which is at the Grand Vic, $400 no limit, 30K opener. It's 100K to first place, or no, 100K guaranteed prize pool. I'm going to play in the 11 o'clock flight, so I'm going to wear a green visor and go there with all the old McCrudgety old guys and play the early flight of the Thursday tournament. Very excited about that because I get to go home at like a reasonable time. I'll be done at like 10 o'clock at night. That's awesome. You know, I don't like to stay up late.
For sure.
That'll be my debut, my re-debuting of No Limit Hold'em tournaments. I'm very excited about. As always, follow us on Twitter or X now at The Overlay Pod. Make sure you share us with your friends. If you're confused at how to find the podcast, you're probably not going to be helped by this because you're already listening to us. But when you're at the poker events in general, all you have to do is search The Overlay on anywhere that podcasts are offered. Any app, any website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. It'll be on there. Just search The Overlay or just do like poker podcasts. You might find something else that you might want to listen to. Other than that, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. Brando, send us out of here.
Farewell all.